Nikki's back. Welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the Northwest.
Thanks for joining us. Coming up on the programme this evening.
A horse-drawn carriage carries Elle Edwards on her final journey. Hundreds mourn the beautician, shot dead on Christmas Eve.
I think the shock and horror of this is it's unexpected, undeserved, and completely out of our thinking.
Reaching out for love from his dad, the dad who later shook his baby son to death. Today he was jailed for life.
The students in Manchester going on rent strike. We talked to tenants in university accommodation, fed up of paying sky-high prices for substandard homes.
As January's transfer window draws to a close, we look at what players need to do to pass a medical.
Are you sure you want to do this?
The man who pushes people to the edge, but what's the limits for ex-Marine and TV star Jason Foxy Fox? We talk to him live as he gets ready to go on tour. But first tonight, Elle Edwards, the 26-year-old beautician shot dead at a pub on Christmas Eve, took her final journey earlier, driven by horse-drawn cortege.
It's a month now since a gunman opened fire outside a pub in Wallasey village, killing Elle on a Christmas night out. Today, her heartbroken father helped to carry her coffin into the church.
Well, she was described as a fantastic human with a heart of gold, and mourners were urged to leave with hope in their hearts. Our correspondent, Anne O'Connor, was there.
A little more than a month ago, Elle Edwards had started celebrating Christmas. Today, her coffin was brought to her funeral on a horse-drawn carriage. St Nicholas's Church in Wallasey is not far from the Lighthouse pub where the 26-year-old beautician was shot on Christmas Eve. A man has been charged with her murder. Her father, Tim, has shown dignity many couldn't manage, helping and reassuring one of the youngest mourners today. And then, in driving rain, greeting, one by one, the hundreds who'd come to say goodbye to his daughter. Tim Edwards has fondly remembered his walking trips to the Lake District with Elle. Today he walked with her on their final journey.
I think the shock and horror of this is it's unexpected, undeserved, and completely out of our thinking.
Reverend Jeff Staples conducted the service, telling mourners they had to try to find light in the dark.
People came to help Elle, OK? They didn't know her, but she wasn't alone. And people came to her. And that's the light that we need to find. That's the goodness we need to see in people and say, that was good. That's what's good about our community.
Family and friends tied bright ribbons to a prayer tree during the service as some of Ellie's favourite music played. A foundation is to be set up in her memory to combat gun crime. As her grandfather George has said, we need to keep hope in our hearts. Anne O'Connor, ITV News, Wallasey.
Well, next tonight, the man who shook his baby boy to death and then lied to save his skin has been jailed for life.
A court heard that he'd shaken his son, Abel Jacks, on 2 occasions before killing him.
Oliver Maley from Burnley will spend a minimum of 16 years behind bars.
The judge said his denial had forced a spotlight onto Abel's mother, found later to be completely innocent.
She had to plan her baby's funeral when she was under suspicion of murdering him. She said her ex-partner had taken everything from her. Our reporter Anna Youssef was in court for sentencing.
7-week-old Abel Jacks Maley was murdered by the man who should have been his protector, his father. Preston Crown Court heard how Oliver Maley violently shook the newborn on 2 separate occasions, causing catastrophic brain injuries, injuries akin to those that you might suffer if you were involved in a car crash. When the newborn became limp and stopped breathing, Maley rang the child's mother and told her Abel's gone weird. Then he called an ambulance. The child was rushed to the Royal Blackburn Hospital and then transferred to Manchester Children's Hospital, where he died on November the 30th, 2021. The 26-year-old continued to lie about hurting his son, keeping the finger of suspicion pointed at the child's mother until December 2022, when he admitted manslaughter. He claimed he'd shook his son in a moment of madness when the newborn wouldn't stop crying, and he didn't realise he could be seriously injured. However, the court heard that a health visitor had visited the couple at home just days before Abel Jacks had died, warning them about the dangers of shaking a baby. In a victim impact statement, Abel Jacks' mum said, "I just don't know how to put into words what's happened. It doesn't feel real. The house haunts me. I don't trust people, and I don't think I'll ever trust a man ever again." Sentencing, the judge said that Maley had lied time and time again to his family, to the police, to doctors, just to save his own skin. This is what the lead investigating officer had to say.
So Oliver Maley used in mitigation that he was tired from work, he'd had some dental pain, he wasn't using his usual medication. But I think for any new parent there's always challenges. But ultimately you have a responsibility to that baby, and you have to overcome your own difficulties as an adult and care for that baby as they should be, and that doesn't involve shaking them.
Maley was found guilty of murder and jailed for life with a minimum of 16 years.
Anna Joseph, our reporter there.
Well, next tonight, Northern leaders, businesses and politicians descended on Manchester Central earlier for the grandly named Convention of the North. As always, the hot topic was, yes, you guessed it, levelling up.
We seem to be hearing this expression levelling up all the time at the moment, but as we heard last week, there are winners and losers in this fight for the money from the Levelling Up Fund. So our metro mayors are now demanding that fair funding is made a legal requirement. Our political correspondent Alicia McNally has been in Manchester for us today, so let's cross live to find out more from her now. Alicia.
Well, Lucy, this might be the Convention of the North, but discussions today were actually shaped by two other places. How do you make sure that people living here have the same life chances as those in London? Well, the answer, according to our metro mayors, could lie in Germany. There, levelling up is basically written into the constitution. The government have a legal requirement to address any regional inequalities in things like access to good transport or life expectancy, and they have to move money around to make it happen. Well, today, Andy Burnham and Steve Rotherham are calling on our government to do the same thing. They want to end all the uncertainty of the Levelling Up Fund, the winners, the losers. Instead, they want to see the regions treated basically like a separate government department, given their own budget where local leaders can decide how to spend it. Now, that's quite a gauntlet to throw down for the government. It would mean a massive transfer of financial power from Westminster to the Northwest. But we could see a mini version of it trialled right here in Greater Manchester. The Levelling Up Secretary, Michael Gove, has spoken about that before, but today we got more detail of what it could look like.
We want to devolve even more housing funding, including exploring more control of the Affordable Homes Programme in West Midlands and Greater Manchester. At the moment, London's the only mayoral authority controlling the Affordable Homes Programme budget, and if we want more of the homes we need in the places where they're needed, and we want to regenerate brownfield sites and drive growth, I believe devolution of this budget is vital and necessary.
Well, I asked Andy Burnham how those devolution talks were going, and he said they were very positive. We could even have it all signed off before the spring budget. But in the meantime, Michael Gove also confirmed that controversial Levelling Up Fund is here to stay. Although he did say he hoped to work more closely with local leaders for the third round to make sure we didn't have a repeat of what happened last week when those winners and losers were announced. He called it lively comments. I think the rest of us might call it a massive row. And it's led to Labour setting out their own stall for what levelling up should be.
Levelling up was a slogan, it's become incredibly tainted, but what people still strongly believe in across the north of England is what we could do if we had powers over housing, skills, transport, employment support in order to drive local growth in our own areas. We could get good jobs back into communities, money back into people's pockets, so young people don't have to get out to get on, and our public services are thriving again.
So as you see, many interpretations of how regional inequalities could be tackled, but this is about so much more than a political row, because whoever ends up in charge of defining and delivering levelling up, it's the people of the North West who have to live with it.
Absolutely. Alicia, thanks very much for that. So I wonder how many of us are feeling levelled up tonight. Next, we're going to hear from students who definitely aren't. They're refusing now to pay their rent at their halls of residence at the University of Manchester. They say they're angry that the rent's too expensive and the accommodation is what they call substandard.
Well, we've heard from dozens of those protesting. They say they've battled with mould, rats, mice and leaks and claim their complaints go ignored by the university.
Some in Fallowfield have been voicing those complaints to our reporter Emma Sweeney.
Mould climbing the walls and unwanted rodent visitors living rent-free. Conditions that some say are commonplace throughout many of Manchester University halls of residence. It's part of the reason why some here are currently on strike.
I'm withholding rent because I don't know someone that doesn't have a problem with water, electricity, mice. It's not on. My flatmate is striking because a mouse is coming through his cupboard. We've asked him to fix it and they've come and they've not fixed it. It eats his bread, it eats his cereal.
So this crack has been here for the whole year and a half that I've lived in this room.
In another hall, student Eden is also withholding rent. They say cracks in the walls are causing rainwater to leak in.
A couple times it's rained through there. I've also reported that, and both times, not only was it not really acknowledged, on the system it came up as completed.
But it's not just about the damp, the mould or the mice. In the face of a cost of living crisis, every penny counts. The strikers want to see a 30% reduction in rent.
So I'm paying £450 a month on this rent, which is the cheapest possible in Manchester. Some of them go up to £700 a month. I only get £540 a month equivalent in my maintenance loan, so I wouldn't be able to afford a lot of the accommodation, and people who didn't have an increased maintenance loan would have even less. That's why we're calling on the university not just to decrease rent for this year, but not to increase it for at least the next 3 years.
Manchester University says it has already provided support payments equivalent to £170 for every student, but the strikers say it is not enough. A recent survey by the Office for National Statistics found half of students in England are facing money problems.
I've got mutual friends who I know have had to rely on a food bank, have had to properly ask for help at some point. I think it shows that nothing that the union's done is enough.
It's not the first time strikes have taken place here. These were the scenes 2 years ago when students were dissatisfied with the university's handling of the pandemic. They eventually secured a 30% rebate worth £4 million. With the current students saying they are determined to stand their ground, the latest wave of strikes could continue for some time. Emma Sweeney, ITV News, Manchester.
Well, we contacted the University of Manchester for their response to these complaints. They told us we wouldn't let an unsuitable property to any student. When we become aware of accommodation issues, we always respond. We work with the maintenance teams and our pest contractor to identify and resolve any issues.
They added that all residences are cleaned twice a week and that health and safety inspections that took place over Christmas found no significant issues.
OK, let's have a look at what's coming up on the programme later.
He's the star of SAS, Who Dares Wins, whose latest challenge is to bear all for a new stage show about his life. We chat to Foxy about his new tour.
And earlier today we had to put up with pretty poor visibility, a lot of cloud around and rain sinking south, but it's becoming drier and clearer now, and that means a little bit colder. All the detail a little later on.
Well, let's get on to sport now. Manchester United could move a step closer tonight to ending their trophy drought. So, remind us how long it's been, Chris?
Well, first of all, it's lovely to have you back in, Lucy. And on a night when we have you back in the studio, Manchester United. And
You can
Manchester
come
United
again,
want their
Chris.
trophies back
Good
as
man.
well. That's the thing. Europa League in 2017 was their last major trophy. 6 years. Might not be a long time without silverware for most clubs, but it's United's driest spell since 1983. And Erik ten Hag is desperate to end that run by lifting the League Cup. Tonight, Manchester United face Nottingham Forest in the first leg of their semi-final. Ten Hag says he wants to bring back that winning feeling to the club.
Oh, missed the best feeling, what you can have. I had to look in my career to win some trophies, and it's magnificent. It's a period Manchester United didn't win trophies, and it's too long ago, and we have to do everything to bring a trophy in.
It's also the quarter-finals of the Women's League Cup tonight, with Manchester City and Liverpool both in action. And then the attention turns back to the FA Cup, with Accrington facing Leeds in round 4 this weekend. The League One side beat non-league Boreham Wood 1-0 in extra time last night to set up a clash with the Premier League giants on Saturday. Well, next to a mixed night for Bolton's Dion Charles. He scored the winner in their 1-0 victory over Forest Green in League One last night. But then, after this foul by his teammate Elias Kachunga, the referee sent off the wrong player. Charles receiving his marching orders, much to his obvious frustration. The red card should be overturned on appeal. Well, football clubs across the region have just 6 days now to complete any transfer deals before the January window slams shut. But before any player can move clubs, they must first complete a medical. So what's involved, and just why is the medical so important? Mike Hall has been finding out.
Before any professional football club can show off its latest signing, there's one final crucial hurdle to clear: the medical. Every player must have one before completing a transfer, and today it's the turn of 25-year-old Joe Denman.
Hi Joe, I'm a malhottra consultant cardiologist.
The Manchester Institute of Health and Performance conducts medicals for many of the region's football clubs, from League Two players to Premier League stars. It starts with a detailed look at the heart.
Each of these spikes represents your heart beating.
Professor Anil Malhotra is one of the UK's leading cardiologists. It's his responsibility to sign off on a healthy heart.
The players are assets to the club, and almost like an MOT off an asset or off a car, you'd want to make sure that every part is functioning correctly. We're not there to ascertain how fit an athlete is, but whether there is an underlying cardiac condition that can predispose this athlete to sudden cardiac arrest during exercise on the pitch.
In it comes. Denman with a header!
Joe plays for non-league Bury AFC, but supporters needn't worry. He's not moving clubs, but has agreed to take the test for our cameras and his own reassurance.
What we're looking for is to make sure that the heart's contracting well.
After an ECG and ultrasound, it's so far so good.
As many as 1 in 250 football players may harbour a life-threatening cardiac condition. And if that were the case, then of course we have to go down a shared decision-making process whereby we sit the player down, we talk about the risks associated with playing football if they've got that condition, and then it's up to the player to decide whether they wish to continue, but then also the club has a responsibility to look after that player as well. So it's part of the shared decision-making process.
Next up, it's an MRI scan of the spine, pelvis, knees, ankles and muscles to look for pre-existing injuries. Professor Wakar Bhatti has scanned more than £1 billion worth of footballing talent over nearly 20 years.
As you know, some of these players are getting paid several £100,000 a week, so there will be some players that will be carrying an injury, and during the testing they will be saying there is no pain that they're experiencing, but the scanner never lies. We can pick up those injuries.
Thankfully for Joe, there are no such concerns, and after routine blood tests, he gets a clean bill of health.
Well, Joe, how did you find that whole experience?
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, the level of detail is something that you wouldn't get, especially at our level or you know, just generally day to day. So it was just really interesting to see, you know, pictures of your heart and speak to the doctors and see what they had to say.
And reassuring to find out all is good.
Yeah, I didn't come in with any worries, and thankfully I'm not leaving with any. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
Which is great news for Bury, who now know they have a player at the peak of his powers. Mike Hall, ITV News, Manchester.
Excellent effort.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And before you ask me, no, I would fail it horrifically.
That was a great report. I was actually going to say that you're at the peak of your physical fitness, both of you.
Picture of health, Chris.
Exactly.
Next, he is one of the stars of the smash hit TV show SAS Who Dares Wins, as well as a best-selling author and, of course, ex-Marine. Yes, Jason Foxy Fox's latest challenge, a live stage show.
Yeah, there is a fascination with how far people can push themselves mentally and physically. And now Jason is talking about just that in his show Life at the Limit. It's all happening at the Liverpool Phil tonight and at the Lowry in Salford tomorrow.
Well, Victoria Grimes is in Liverpool for us, joined hopefully by Mr. Fox. Vicky?
I am indeed, Gamal. I'm at the Philharmonic Hall in Liverpool where Mr. Jason Foxy Fox himself is performing in his show tonight, Life at the Limit. Jason, lovely to have you in Liverpool. What's the show all about then?
The show? Well, thanks for having me on, firstly.
Oh, that's nice.
But the show's all about my life experience. I've written a couple of books, and the show is more about bringing those books to life, telling those stories, but also throwing in a few others that aren't in there. But it's sort of, it all hinges on my journey with mental health.
Yeah. And you say this very casually. I've written a couple of books, so you're very modest, and my experiences, but I don't know how you cram all your experiences into this show, because there's been quite a lot, especially during your time with the SAS and with your mental health journey. Do you talk about that quite a lot within the show?
Yeah, like I said, the whole show hinges on my mental health, so I sort of start midway through my experience, then we go back to the beginning, and then the middle chunk of the show is all about my journey with mental health, and then it then morphs into all the experiences that helped me come back from the brink of suicide, really.
Is it difficult to talk about that during the show?
Not anymore. I've spoken about it so much.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Is it cathartic? Is it a cathartic experience?
Yeah, definitely.
Talking through it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And what's the reaction like from the audience? Because I bet there's a lot of people that reach out to you afterwards, I'm guessing.
The reaction's good, yeah. At the time, it's difficult to see, because I've got massive spotlights blinding me. Yeah. But, yeah, no, the reaction post-show is brilliant, yeah.
And does that mean a lot to you that you're helping people?
I think it means the most to me, yeah.
More than anything else that you do?
Yeah, 100%. It's, without knowing it, I didn't know why I was doing it, and then once I got the feedback, I was like, this is exactly why I'm doing it. Yeah. So yeah, it's really good. I enjoy it a lot.
So you're here in Liverpool tonight, Salford tomorrow, then on to Stoke, I think, after that, isn't it? But you've been on a bit of a whirlwind. Poor Jason Fox hasn't even had a sandwich today. He hasn't had a minute, and we've collared him to get him on Granada Reports tonight, and he's absolutely starving, you poor fella. But you're a hard SAS man. You're in SAS Who Dares Wins, back for a new series. Yeah. Vietnam and the jungle. That sounds a bit, well, slightly scary.
It is quite scary for those that aren't accustomed to that way of living. No.
No, of course he wasn't. Of course he wasn't. Now, they say this because on SAS Who Dares Wins, you are really, you're a proper hard man. But every time I've met you, and everyone in here has said today, in fact, one of your crew described you as a big cuddly teddy bear.
Who said that?
Well, I don't know, but don't tell him off. He told me that before, but I thought that was quite nice.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's difficult for me to keep a reputation going, though, when people keep
when you say things like
telling the truth.
Well, if you could have anybody on SAS Who Dares Wins, who would it be? Who would you like to see on it?
Jamal, definitely.
Gamal and Lucy. Lucy Meacott might be up for it. Lucy? Welcome back, Lucy. You've got an invitation. SAS Who Dares Wins. Jason, thanks so much for talking to us. Thank you.
That cuddly teddy bear sandwich, Vicky.
There is no way on earth I'd do a programme like that.
You'd be brilliant.
No.
Now the weather with Kerry.
Mum, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, a very good evening to you. A disappointing start first thing this morning, a lot of low cloud around, but things did improve a little bit during this afternoon from the north. Drier, clearer and colder weather pushing in as we head into the next couple of days and nights. We're a mostly dry story with patchy cloud, clear or sunny spells, but under the clear skies by night, still the risk of some frost and maybe some mist and fog as we head into the couple of nights ahead. Now, this was the story so far today, so a lot of cloud around. This weather system pushing its way southwards, generating cloud and outbreaks of rain, but quite quickly, certainly to northern parts of the region, Cumbria, Lancashire and the Isle of Man, drier, clearer and colder conditions. So that leaves us for this evening with a largely dry and cold start to the night. There is a little bit of a breeze, so more of a patchy frost perhaps, but temperatures hovering just below or just above freezing for most of us. Out towards the coast of 3 or 4, there's a stiffer northerly there, and especially out towards the Isle of Man. So as we head towards tomorrow morning, very sun times, a big thank you to Shirley Butterworth for this great shot of Hollingworth Lake. So as we head through into tomorrow, patchy frost to start, mostly dry and a good dose of sunshine. There will be a little bit of cloud cover in the far south and the far east to begin, but largely dry and clear with a good dose of sunshine for Thursday. A decent day, just a light, fairly chilly northerly breeze and highs around the average for the time of year, 7, maybe 8 Celsius. Now under those skies tomorrow night, under the clear skies, there will once more be a fairly widespread rural frost for sure, but that leaves us with another decent day on Friday. For the weekend, stronger winds, more cloud and not quite as chilly.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thanks, Kerry. Before we go, a huge well done to the brilliant RNLI crew at New Brighton. They've been recognised by Merseyside's Chief Constable for their bravery. They battled these treacherous waters to help with the rescue, and that is a real reminder of the incredible work that these volunteers do there day in, day out.
Yeah, well done to them. Is it good to be back on the horse?
It is, yes.
Like she never left. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Right. It is like I never left. It's just quite